The summer evening air was heavy with stillness, the kind that made every sound carry through the neighborhood. Richard Miller sat in his aging pickup truck, hands gripping the steering wheel as he pulled into his driveway. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, painting the cul-de-sac in soft orange light. For most people, opening the garage and going about their evening chores would have been an ordinary routine. But for Richard, nothing in this neighborhood had been ordinary for a long time, not since Karen moved in across the street. Karen Whitfield, the self-proclaimed queen of the homeowners association, was known for her hawk-like watch over every house in the community. She saw herself as the enforcer of order, the guardian of rules, and the punisher of anything she considered unsightly or dangerous. Her biggest target had always been Richard. Richard was in his mid-50s, a retired mechanic who loved fixing things in his garage. He was quiet, polite, and mostly kept to himself. But Karen hated his truck, hated his dog, and most of all, hated the fact that he refused to bow down to her endless demands. She had once told him, in front of several neighbors, "This isn't your playground, Richard. This is my neighborhood, and people like you ruin it." That evening, as Richard rolled up the metal garage door, he sighed deeply. He just wanted to fix his lawnmower and call it a night. But across the street, Karen was already standing on her porch, phone in hand, eyes narrowed like a predator watching prey. "He's at it again," she muttered, her voice sharp. Then she raised her phone and dialed 911. Double quotes, "Hello? Yes, it's me again," she said in a frantic tone that sounded more like a rehearsed performance than genuine fear. "My neighbor is dangerous. He's opening his garage right now. He keeps weapons in there. He threatened me before. You need to come now? Bring guns? Shoot if you have to." Her voice cracked with fake terror. "I'm scared for my life. He's unstable. Please hurry." Inside his garage, Richard hummed softly as he sorted through his toolbox. He had no idea that Karen's words were painting him as a monster. He didn't hear the lies that were speeding. Through dispatch to officers racing his way, minutes later, the tranquility shattered. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Red and blue lights flashed across the walls of Richard's garage. Richard turned, blinking in confusion. Police cruisers screeched to a halt in his driveway. Doors flew open. Officers jumped out, guns drawn, their voices thundering. "Hands up. A step away from the garage. Do it now." Richard's heart pounded. "What? What's going on?" "Officers, just don't move." "Don't." Neighbors poured out of their homes, gasping and whispering. Children clung to their parents, and standing tall with her arms folded across her chest was Karen. Her lips curved into a smirk of triumph. "I told you," she muttered under her breath. "Finally, they'll see the truth about him." Richard raised his trembling hands. "Please, I haven't done anything. Look, I'm just fixing my mower. Shut it." Step forward, slowly. The air was electric with tension. Any wrong move could end his life. But then, just as the officer's advanced headlights appeared at the far end of the street, a black SUV, flanked by 2 escort vehicles, rolled into the cul-de-sac. The convoy moved with precision and authority. The neighborhood froze. Who was arriving at a time like this? The SUV stopped near Richard's driveway. The back door opened, and out stepped Governor Mitchell, the sitting governor of the state. Tall, dignified, dressed in a crisp suit, he looked utterly out of place in the chaotic scene before him. Richard's eyes widened. He had known the governor for years. They had gone to school together, and the governor occasionally dropped by for private visits, away from cameras and politics. This evening had been one of those unannounced stops. "Richard," the governor called warmly, raising his hand. But to the already nervous officers, the sudden movement looked threatening. One officer panicked. His finger tightened on the trigger. Shot cracked through the night. The sound echoed like thunder, making everyone scream. The bullet struck the governor's SUV, shattering the side mirror and grazing his shoulder. He staggered back, clutching his arm in pain. Chaos erupted. Neighbors shrieked. Children cried. Richard's heart nearly stopped. "Oh my God, Dodd." The governor, grimacing in pain, shouted with fury, "Stand down. Do you even know Who you're pointing those guns at? The silence that followed was deafening. Officers froze, horror dawning on their faces. Karen's smug grin melted instantly. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She stepped back, pale as chalk, shaking her head. No, this can't be happening. All eyes turned toward. Her neighbors began shouting. She called them. One neighbor cried. She told the cops he was dangerous. Another added. She said he had weapons. Richard's chest burned with anger. He pointed at Karen, his voice trembling with controlled rage. She's been harassing me for months. Tonight, she nearly killed me and she nearly killed him. The governor, still clutching his arm, turned his piercing gaze toward Karen. His voice was like steel. Lady, do you realize what you've done? You've endangered an innocent man, wasted police resources, and nearly assassinated the governor of this state, all because of your lies. Karen's knees buckled. She sank onto the curb, shaking her head violently. I didn't mean I just thought he's always in that garage. He's suspicious. But her words fell flat. Nobody believed her anymore. The police rushed to the governor's side, calling for medical support. At the same time, two officers approached Karen. Their handcuffs clicked open. Ma'am, one said coldly, you're under arrest for filing a false report, endangering public safety, and inciting violence. The cuffs snapped around her wrists. Neighbors watched in stunned silence as Karen, once the loudest, most controlling voice in the community, was led away crying and begging. Richard, shaken but alive, walked to the governor's side, helping him steady himself until paramedics arrived. His voice was heavy with emotion. I told you she wouldn't stop until she hurt someone. The governor gave him a grim nod. And tonight she almost succeeded. In the days that followed, the story spread across the state. The governor gave a public statement once he recovered. His words broadcasted on every major channel. We cannot allow lies and fear to weaponize our protectors against innocent citizens. One woman's false call nearly cost lives, mine included. We must hold people accountable when they abuse emergency services for personal vendettas. Karen lost everything, the HOA presidency, her reputation, her standing in the neighborhood, and eventually her freedom. She was sentenced for her false report and reckless endangerment. Richard, still shaken, finally felt peace returning. To his home, neighbors who once ignored Karen's harassment now apologized, admitting they had turned a blind eye for too long. The governor himself visited Richard weeks later, smiling warmly despite the scar on his arm. You've been through hell, my friend. But you stood tall. Don't let her shadow linger over you. And Richard, with tears brimming in his eyes, finally felt the weight of fear and injustice lift from his shoulders. But deep down, one haunting thought remained. Had the governor not arrived at that exact moment, Richard would have been another innocent man shot down in his own driveway, all because of a lie.